You may have noticed Simeon got so excited this week over Labour's streaming levy, which now National says is a tax, despite claiming that their LNG levy wasn't a tax. And finding out that Labour hadn't wiped all mention of it from the internet forever when they decided to quietly focus on their CGT instead, that it would be easy to believe that he had had too much sugar, read food colouring and needed a nap time now to calm himself down before he hurt himself. So, now Simeon is claiming that National is going to be the bastion of honesty, which honestly I would love to see happen. So I'm sure he's going to deal with a few erroneous claims soon, right? You see, over at election2026.co.nz, the fact-check database actually shows us that National has the most entries to be fact-checked so far this year. Now, they're not all false claims, like their claim to be ending the failed experiment that is open planned classrooms. They are doing that. They never admit that it was the National Party who decided to experiment with them in the first place, though. But there are a shitload of misleading and straight-up false claims. Some of them are from cherry-picked datasets, like their claims that there are 49,000 fewer victims of violent crime, which extrapolates outcomes based on survey results, not raw data from police tracking. And the Prime Minister and Justice Minister have both admitted that they did this in a press conference. Their claims on ram raids and youth crime also based on cherry-picked and incomplete data, or in the case of ram raids, straight up taking credit for the work that Labour did before the 2023 election. And in all of these examples, the actual drivers of the issues are never identified by National, so they base their misleading or false claims knowing often that they haven't changed anything that drives the issue in the first place. There's been lies about government controlling interest rates and inflation, vilifying fees free as a failure, that stalking was legal under Labour, that Labour want to stop assessing children's progress in schools, that move-on orders will result in safer business districts, that their event boost payments were responsible for a range of acts to come here and perform, that the government under Jacinda gave millions to the mongrel mob, that Labour oversaw a 30% increase in violent crime, that half of the COVID response loan was spent on frivolous things, that they were responsible for increased pensions, that the green tax plan would mean that if you earn over $160,000 a year, you're going to end up paying 45% on all of that on tax, and that we're on target to reach emissions goals under the Paris Climate Accord and International Free Trade Agreement conditions, that they hired 2,100 FTE nurses, that all of the money used to service core Crown debt is because of borrowing exclusively from Labour, that National ended cultural reports in courts, that a Treasury report put the Greens wealth tax in doubt, that National will deliver a surplus by 2029, that the ute tax is returning, and of course, that Christopher Luxon has the full support of his caucus. All demonstrably false or deliberately misleading. There's also actions that seem to show that they lied in the past, like Nicola Willis criticising the truncated select committee processes from last term during COVID emergencies as stifling democracy, before she planned to do exactly that on purpose when they cancelled pay equity. It was actually something called Project 10 internally, and it details plans to avoid OIA scrutiny and stop people from being able to respond to the cancellation of the pay equity scheme. Even the straight-up weird claims of Labour missing at the field days because the coalition had an empty spot next to them in the tents, despite all of the records showing that Labour never booked a site, and mountains of photos of Labour MPs and candidates at the event talking to people. And every day, Simeon posts half a dozen times on the 5 or 6 or 7 or 12 or a million new taxes that he claims Labour are introducing. Labour has only announced a single new tax officially, and he deliberately mixes up tax proposals from the Greens and now Opportunity because he genuinely seems to think that National Party voters fear the most is finding ways to pay for adequate services provided by the government that we all rely on, like education and health systems, while showing that as campaign chair, he's happy to waste money on misleading billboards, targeting ads to the Manosphere fans, and AI slop. And here's the thing. So far, tracking data shows more misleading and outright false claims from National than the party of one person, one vote refers to secret agreements in the Paris Accords and land taxes communism despite how council rates work, or we need to change hiring laws to what they are now because of an anecdote claiming someone was told they didn't get a job because they didn't honour tertiity in their home. So, when Simeon stopped salivating over the now cancelled streaming levy proposal, his party actually considered that same proposal as well at one stage, just remember that there's a shitload of other bullshit that national, at both a party level and local MP and candidate level, are still spreading to try and trick people into voting for them. I mean, hopefully voters are smart enough to realise that being lied to constantly and going back for more is a really bad idea. Hello there, Kia ora podcast listeners. This is the second video I think I've done today. The first one was actually a bit of a promo for TikTok and maybe YouTube on the newsletter for this week, which is all about Project 10, which gets a mention in today's video, which is the secret code that was used by Nicola Willis to push through pay equity changes. And it's a really fascinating thing. It was something that I came across last night with the event with Dame Marilyn Waring. So I wanted to make sure it got a mention in here, but also to remind you that on Friday, for paid subscribers on Substack, you can access the write-up on how that event went and learn all about exactly what was done to try and hide from people the pay equity changes and the findings of the People's Panel, which will be available for everybody on the Sunday for free. So I wanted to do a bit of a teaser, it's hidden in here. But I also wanted to make really sure for the video version of this, and I appreciate that for some of you, you might not be able to see that, you might be listening to this on an audio first platform. If you are, I suggest you try and, if you can, find a video version of this, because I really wanted to use some examples in the video version of people who are really dumb in the National Party doing really dumb things and saying really specific things because it's cruel. Like the cruelty is so on point at the moment, it's absolutely ridiculous. So I wanted to make sure that some of the examples that were given in here made sense. So people like Ryan Hamilton talking about inflation going up. I'm happy to take any chance I can to make sure Ryan doesn't get re-elected, to be honest. I do not want to see him in there. Seeing Matt Ducey as the Minister of Mental Health talking about how much of a great win it is for the people of Waimak to have move-on orders. Because the majority of people who are dealing with homelessness have mental health issues as well, which makes perfect sense. And the Minister for Mental Health is like, yay, let's make this worse. So I thought that really needed to be seen in there, really highlighted in there. I also wanted to make sure that I highlighted stuff from MPs instead of it just being the National Party page, because I know a few people who are like, Simeon is in charge of the campaign, and kind of associate what happens on there with Simeon directly. And to be fair, there's some of it I think that's actually really understandable. But this isn't, the process of lying and bullshitting isn't just down to one particular MP or to the party page as a whole. It is something that is infecting the entire National Party at the moment and how they promote things. So I wanted to make sure that came through there really clearly. And then I got to the end and I'm getting all the screen grabs and stuff like that. And I thought to myself, you know what? The perfect way to illustrate this, and this will go in the description, the perfect way to illustrate just how full of bullshit this party is their podcast. Because they don't have one. They have a podcast mic, like the mic that you see in a lot of podcasts. Like it's like the earlier version of the one that I'm using to record this. It is a solid microphone. It does what it's supposed to. But there's no podcast. National don't have a podcast. They haven't released anything like that. This is a framing gimmick for their videos. And it feels, as somebody who makes podcasts, as somebody who's won awards actually for my podcast. Like, I don't know if you can't see it on the audio version, obviously, but behind Baby Grogu behind me, there is a New Zealand Podcast Award there, and I've got to get my entry actually for this year's one. But I've won podcast awards. I know the work that goes into it, and to see them fake it for advertising actually kind of pisses me off on a personal level, but I realize this isn't a big thing. But that fake podcast is a great example of just how much this government, National Party in particular, is willing to bullshit to voters to try and win votes. Because it's kind of like a sense of stolen valor. Like, we're talking about this thing to everybody. No, you're not. You're talking to the camera to do your little social media thing. And it just, when you sit down and you have people who are experts interviewed on podcasts, is actually kind of this aesthetic that we understand and see. So, yeah, I should have put that in there. I can't believe I didn't. I'm not going back and re-recording everything because it's already 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm just not going to happen. So, as I said, I hope you enjoy this video and you get something from it, and if possible, please use it to remind people that they really do need to do their own research and not just trust what it is that they're seeing on social media. One of the things I saw yesterday, I can't remember which one it was some false claim that National made, and I made a comment about it on Facebook using the Paul the Other One account, so it is a little bit on in terms of officialness, I guess. And just some of the responses I got were just plain up stupid, like, yeah, but Labour is poo emoji. It's like, cool, that doesn't debunk what it is that I'm saying. It just makes you sound like an idiot who will eat whatever shit you're being fed by the National Party. Like, you can give them evidence, you can give them facts, and some people are just going to vote for them blindly anyway. And it sucks because I really wish people weren't so self-destructive, but it is what it is, I guess. You can't save everybody, no matter how hard you try, because some people don't want saving. Right, well, that's a depressing mood thing to finish this on, isn't it? So I'm going to leave it there, and hopefully your day and mine is better tomorrow. In the meantime, please look after yourself out there. Please double check your registration at vote.nz, especially if you've been on the roll for a while and haven't had to change things, because those people often get moved on to the dormant roll and don't realise it until it's too late. So please go and get that information all up to date. You should also start getting your voter information stuff rolling out now. Like, I had mine show up in the letterbox yesterday. Big orange man on the front going, we're doing things differently this year. That's really cool to see that postal service is working in that way, so keep an eye out for it. Look after yourselves. I'll be back tomorrow or the next day. I don't know. I don't even know what day this is going out at the moment. Live long, prosper, be one with the force. Ka kite anō, and take care of yourself.